So okay, let's start with it. And by the way, this is Ramesh, XLU Academy's head of academic operations. I'm the head of academic operations, XLU Academy Guwahati. Let's the discussion. See, I'm telling you again, the session is today is no geography, previous year questions. And that also in the prelims. This will be helpful to you to understand the prelims. So if you're planning for the prelims now 2021, or even if you're planning for no your UPSC for 2022, yeah, you carefully observe how the UPSC board is keeping the questions in the geography section. Geography section, every time you will have around 10, in a prelims 10 to 12 questions from the geography, and they are very good in nature, like a very fundamental and very, if you are very clear about your concepts, then you can easily answer these questions. There will be no kind of a dilemma. You can easily answer these questions. So let's start with the first question. Anyone, what is the answer for the first question? Consider the following statements. Corrosion of rivers involves mechanical grinding. So corrosion of river involves mechanical grinding. Abrasion of river involves solvent action of water on the rocks. Attrition of river material involves formation of pebbles. So these are the three statements he given, right? Then which statement is correct? So this is a previous question only. So he's asking which statement is correct among this. So any answers? Anyone who prepared? Just have a look on the question. Any answers? Anyone? You can text me or you can unmute yourself and you can let me know. Okay, let's understand this. See, abrasion, actually, abrasion is what? Abrasion is the mechanical grinding of the rivers. Abrasion is, this is what mechanical grinding of the river. Excuse me. Mechanical grinding of rivers. These are definitions, like abrasion is what? Corrosion does what? Corrosion does is what? Corrosion does what? See, even metals are no corrodes, like you take any iron metal, that will be corrosion is happening on it. Corrosion is what? Corrosion is nothing but a chemical or solvent action of water on these rocks. So solvent action water rocks you call as a corrosion. So they exchanged the meaning. Abrasion means mechanical grinding. Corrosion means solvent action of water on rocks. So they changed the meaning of these two. So this means this, and mechanical grinding means abrasion, these two. And what about the attrition? The third statement, attrition of river material involves formation of pebbles. Yes, attrition of river material involves formation of pebbles. How it going to be happens? Just understand this. So attrition is what? Nothing but, I'm just writing that. So when, let's say, when the river is flowing, because of that, no, the rocks, whatever, there will be some wear and tear. And these small particles will be transported. I hope you're understanding. These particles will be transported and they collide. Somehow they will doing happenings. Let's say small particles will be going and colliding and they're forming into another one, big one. So the this kind of a phenomenon. See, corrosion doing what? It's making that solvent action of water on rock. It's making some action, and these small particles are coming out, and they are transporting. While they're transported, the small particles, they will combine, maybe collide, and they will combine and becoming a big ones. That's how they're forming. They will forming what? Pebbles, like because of the collisions and continuous collisions, and finally they will combine. That's how they form the pebbles. So attrition of river materials involves the formation of pebbles. This is correct statement. But corrosion, it's a solvent action of water on rocks. That's what corrosion is involves. Abrasion is what? Nothing but mechanical grinding. So even you can order this. First, what's happening? Mechanical grinding, and then solvation of that, and then attrition. This is what the sequence of these things are. So what is the answer for this first question? So you can say answer for the first question is option D. And this is very fundamental. If you read NCERT textbook carefully, if you read 11th standard NCERT textbook, in that you have this topic. Physical geography, if I'm talking about, especially I'm talking about what? Physical geography. Water bodies, and know if you're reading how the rivers and know how the formation of the rocks and all, how the formation of the rivers, that concept when you're reading, yeah, you will came to know all this terminology. And see, understanding the terminology is very important. So abrasion, corrosion, attrition. So I hope you got an idea. If you're not having an idea, please keep this thing in mind. Not only restrict to this question. When you're going to read the topic, please underline that words. What is mean by corrosion, abrasion, attrition? There are different words you can find encountered. So underline all that kind of words. So I'm moving to the next question, and I'm telling you this session is not about expanding the concept. This session is I'm just expanding how they're putting the questions, and we are understanding the way UPSC board putting the questions, and we are discussing the previous questions. Here we are not discussing completely whole concepts. So in a further coming sessions, we will explain what is, and when you're talking about the physical geography, we will take these classes. But here I'm just expanding the questions. So if you have any doubts, you let me know. I'm moving to the next question. See, next question, just have a look on the next question. A traveler starts his journey on 1st January 2019. The second question, let's have a look at the second question. A traveler starts his journey on 1st January 2019. Okay, 1st January 2019, and reaches his destination on 31st December 2018. See, means he is traveling. How he is traveling, we don't know. Let's say here India, and this is how that things, right? This is how I'm not drawing everything. He is traveling. Somehow the traveler is started traveling, and what he's saying, what is the question is about? He started traveling in the 1st January, but he reaches. When he reaches his destination, the destination we don't know, the starting point we don't know, the destination we don't know, but when he reaches on that region, on the destination, the date is 31st December. Means if you look at it, he lost a day or he gained a day. Understand the questions carefully, no? He lost a day or he gained a day?
Lost.
He lost a day. So first he actually today is 23rd. I traveled. I reached to 22nd. So I gained a day. No, I have one more day. 23rd. So whatever. So that's no. So carefully understand that. So he changed it. Means let's say he started from this point. Say from Japan or some point like somehow here in this from Australia, and he traveled this direction, or he might travel this direction, but he mentioned it. He not mentioned direction he traveled. He not mentioned. Please, everyone. So we don't know which direction he traveled, whether he traveled in this direction or he traveled in this direction, we don't know. We're just looking at, okay, which direction we travel, we don't know, we need to see. because he mentioning in that options, that's also he mentioned whether he traveled. Now he's saying, okay, when he flies from New Delhi to Abu Dhabi or over Arabia Sea, where is Abu Dhabi? That geographically you need to know. So New Delhi to Abu Dhabi. So let's somewhere here. So here to here. Say for example, this is, and New Delhi to Sydney. New Delhi to, say from New Delhi to Sydney, this direction. And Kyoto to California means Japan to California over Pacific Ocean. So this direction. Kyoto to Beijing over East China Sea. From here to here, from East China Sea. These are the ways he traveled. I hope you know you're getting that, you know, the way he's saying that things. Now, what are the options you can eliminate? If you move from New Delhi to Sydney, do you change your date? Just think. If you move from New Delhi to Sydney, you can change the date. No. If you move from New Delhi to Abu Dhabi, you can change the date. I mean, how many number of hours we have a difference? So how you're going to get the difference of the number of hours? In the sense, you need to see international timeline and international dateline. We need to see what international timeline and international dateline. See, if you look at it, we between that no poles and no along the longitudes, we have a 0 degree, right? Like these longitudes. So we, while we are crossing, we will change the dates. I mean, while we are crossing, let's say this is the east, west, north and south. I hope this is a basic first topic you read, people used to read in the NCERT when you read it. This is a basic first topic. Yes, first topic people used to read in the NCERT. So if you're crossing the longitudes, I mean, you will change the datelines. You will change the datelines while you're calculating. Automatically you're moving from here to here. Yes, that's how you can see. So which options you can eliminate? In the sense, you can eliminate these two options, Sydney to Delhi to Sydney and Delhi to Abu Dhabi. And what about these two options that we need to check? Even if you're moving from Beijing to Kyoto to Beijing, yeah, you can eliminate this option also. It's not going to be too much. I know that every longitude, how much time it is giving you, that you can check and you can move it. But if you're looking at, see, always the concept is simple. While I'm giving you simply a kind of a blind rule. If you're moving from, keep this in mind, east to west. If you're moving from east to west, you lost a day. You lost a day. So if you're moving from east to west, you lost. I will keep here only. East to west. If you're moving from here to here, you're moving. You lost a day. And crossing that international dateline, that is also important. What is the international dateline? The international dateline is what? A longitude which is no, yeah, any option? Yes, a longitude which is no having on the, see, like this, a longitude, you can pause that. No, it's a no, Bering Strait to dividing the Siberian region. Bering Strait to dividing the Siberian region. That, so these concepts you please read it. East to west, keep this in mind. Losing a day. If you're traveling from west to east, you will make gain a day. They are keeping, see, this is the one question they're asked in prelims, and this is how they 2-3 times they asked based on this concept questions in the prelims. So please read what the concepts of international dateline and east to west. When you're traveling from east to west, you lose a day. When you're traveling from west to east, you gain a day. Those ideas you keep in mind, so you can easily answer this question. So it's an option C. Still, if you have any doubts, yeah, you let me know, or else you read this topic. If you not read these topics thoroughly, you please read these topics. These are important topics, I'm telling you. These are the previous questions already asked. These things you need to learn if you're writing really seriously about your exam. Yeah. Coming to the next question. This is also very fundamental, and these are like not a dynamic. I mean, they're not related to current affairs. These are the geography questions. Some of questions are just fundamental in nature. So Milankovitch cycles. Next question, coming to that next question. Milankovitch cycles are related to which of the following? Any answer? Milankovitch cycles are related to what?
B. its
Yes. It
eccentricity.
definitely be. So what is actually BEC? What is it Milankovitch cycle says? When you look at that, no, Earth, see the axis of tilting, the axis of the no, rotation, that eccentricity of that no, because Earth is not exact. No, Earth is not a absolute sphere. It is no having some kind of a shape called geoid. So it is actually a different shape. The eccentricity is nothing but the central point of the two, that kind of a shape. That in a technically you can speak. And the axis, axial tilt. That axis, no, what is rotating that about that, no, axial tilt and precision also. And these factors are completely collectively known as the Earth's eccentricity, axial tilt, and precision. The variation of these factors completely known as this Milankovitch cycle. This terminology is very important. This is related to this. Fine. Now, what is the importance of this thing? Why? See, because if you look at it, why? What is the import? They can ask you what is the importance of Milankovitch cycle. What does that know? What are the things you can understand from this? What are the consequences of these cycles? If you understand, let's see this. If you're looking at, let's say, you have sun here. I'm making trying to understand, making you see. Now the radiation is like this, that on Earth. Now, if it is changing its portion, it is tilting now here to here. Automatically, the amount of radiation it is gaining will be different. So because of that, automatically, uh, the glaciation or else no, the amount of heat it was taken by from the sun will be different, and automatically there will be huge amount of what environmental changes will come, climatic changes will come, solar radiation absorbed by that will be different automatically. Once that is differ, that will be automatically give a consequence of some climatic changes. So they can put the question in that way also. Fine. Milankovitch cycles will cause the climatic changes on Earth. Yes, of course, because axial tilt will be changed, automatically it will change. It will change the things. So it's an option B. And what about the remaining things like sunspot cycle? Sunspot cycle is different. Sunspot cycle is what? And geomagnetic reversal of cycle of Earth. This is also one important point they asked in the question. Like every time for after some thousands of years later, the Earth's magnetic field will be changing. Earth usually Earth magnetic field is like this. Now current like this. Earth is no considering as a bar magnet north and south pole like this. This is how we are taking. Now after some time of thousands of years later, this will reverse. Now this will become like after sometimes south and north like this. This will become, this is the reverse will happen. So that phenomena is happening, and that you call the geomagnetic reversal cycle of Earth. But that is not a Milankovitch cycle. Milankovitch cycle is related to Earth's eccentricity, axial, and precession. Yep. So Earth's magnetic field is changing. Like even schooling we learned, bar magnet will have what? North and south pole. Now north pole and south pole like this, and magnetic field lines could be from north to south like this. Inside south to north. That's how we have a, right? But later few thousands years again later, that's a sequence. No, it's a completely, it's a cycle changing that, no, south to north it become. That's how. So that is different phenomena. Geomagnetic reversal cycle of Earth is different phenomena. It's not related to Milankovitch cycle. Milankovitch cycle means it's a Earth's eccentricity, axial tilt, and precession, that all variations you combinedly called as a Milankovitch cycle. Clear this question? And this is also mentioned in your NCERT textbook. See, whatever the questions you just looking at, all are basic things. They are mentioned in the NCERT textbook. If you read thoroughly again and again NCERT textbooks, that's far enough to answer these kind of questions. These points are mentioned in a NCERT textbooks only. Okay. Next, understand soil formation. Again, this is also topic from your NCERT textbook only. Different type of soils we have. Let's understand. What soils he is asking about? PT soils. Okay, PT soils is what? So PT soils of India. So soils formation, soils in India. If you answer this question, yeah, fine. Which option it is going to be? PT soils. Yeah, one person is answering very clearly. Yes, it's correct. Option D, 2 and 3. What are the PT soils? PT soils are found in the areas of heavy rainfall and high humidity. So PT soils are found in the, so let's understand this in the found in high humidity and heavy rainfall. So that automatically you will have out high humidity and heavy rainfall, so there will be a good vegetation also. I mean, it's a good for making for plantation also, vegetation also very good. PT soils are found in these regions only. So in India, if you look at high humidity and heavy rainfall, and there is a huge vegetation, so which options are suitable? But he see automatically when there is a huge vegetation, high humidity, high heavy rainfall, so there will be huge, what is that? There will be a huge organic content also. Isn't it? Because once there is a huge vegetation, once there is a huge rainfall and huge vegetation, automatically there will be a huge humus and huge organic content also. But here in the first option, carefully look at the options. He is saying the soils are low in humus and organic content, which is not correct. Which is not correct, right? So I can eliminate, which is option A, I can eliminate. It's option A is not correct. And PT soils are generally found in areas that have a high humidity and high precipitation. That's correct. And it is known as curry soil in Kerala. Yeah, that is a bit curry soil in Kerala. Okay. Which of the statements are given correct? So this thing you need to know, curry soil and Kerala, and also in different parts of the country how it was called. You can find this. You can find in let's say any other states. If you look at it, one is the Kerala region. You can find another. Some parts of coastal areas of West Bengal. Coastal areas of West Bengal. You see, coastal areas of West Bengal and Odisha. Coastal areas of West Bengal. See, so soil. I'm talking about these PT soils, and even Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu. So this is the statements you have in a Kerala. You will find this thing is Alapi, Kottayam, and all these areas. So keep in mind PT soils. Yeah, due to backwater of Kerala. Yes, it's a high humidity, heavy rainfall, and you have a huge vegetation. So some parts of Tamil Nadu and some parts of the West Bengal, Odisha, and some part of the Kerala, and even some part of Bihar also, where you have a right. And what kind of cultivation you have in these soils? Once there is a huge high humidity, heavy rainfall, in the sense paddy fields can be good for this kind of a soils. When there's no what kind of a forming in the sense paddy cultivation is good, suitable for this. So these are the points you keep in mind. Paddy cultivation. So organizedly you keep your points, all points. PT soils of India, you can see what are the PT soils: high humidity, heavy rainfall, and huge vegetation. Because of that huge vegetation, heavy rainfall, and high humidity, its soils having a humus and organic content more. And you find these in the West Bengal, bit of Orissa, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. Fine. So far is it clear? Or have a look on the questions. If you have a doubt, let me know, or else I will move to another question. So shall we go for next question? Okay then. Let's go for next question. Okay. This is another question they given in previous question. With reference to vegetation donation, consider the following: pine forest, mosses and lesions, alpine meadow. So these three they given. Now tell me. Hmm. Which of the following is the correct sequence if you travel from lower altitude to higher altitudes across the Himalayas in Himachal Pradesh? So first understand what is meant by latitude, altitude in the sense height. So yeah, yes. When you're traveling from like a Himachal Pradesh, let's say this is the Himachal Pradesh here. So from lower height altitudes to higher altitudes while you're going like this, automatically, this is a kind of a, again, basic NCERT question. So you're traveling from lower altitude to higher altitude, what you find? So one, two, three. Lower altitude, what you find in lower Himalayas? If you look at it, lower Himalayas or foot Himalayas, lower Himalayas, what kind of a vegetation you find? So you need to read vegetation of India, no, in the Himalayas. You need to read that. Height of vegetation decreases with the altitude. Fantastic. So height of vegetation is decreasing with altitude. So in Himachal or lower Himalayas, what you can find? Automatically. So first we will find what? Pine forest. Pine forest we will find in the lower Himalayas, isn't it? While you're going, next we'll find what? While you're going higher height, next we'll go find, we will find with a, yeah. Next we'll find with alpine meadows, isn't it? Alpine meadows. If you travel, then you can go for even higher altitudes. You will find what? You will find the Moses and relations. And you need to understand the characteristics of these things, right, Carlos? You need to understand the characteristics of these things. Because while you look at it here, I mean, this is how you can see that. I mean, that's once you're going to, while you're going with no altitude, you're automatically the vegetation, the plants, height of that plants or the vegetations could be uh, low. It decreases. So if you understanding this, so you can see the order of this. What is the order of that one? Automatically, yeah. So it's order of 1, 3, 2. So easily automatically you can eliminate remaining things automatically. 3 if you, so you might have a confusion in these two, 1, 1, and then 2, 3 or 2, 3, 3, 2. You can automatically, alpine meadows will be in the middle and pine forest and then marshes and lakes, like a grass and all. If you're going for the higher altitudes, if you go for the higher altitudes, you will get the kind of like that. Next question. See, these all are based on the NCERT questions. That's the reason I picked the why why we picked up these kind of questions, because I just want to tell you how important the NCERT books are, and all these contents are in the NCERT textbook. All these contents are in NCERT. So if you thoroughly read NCERT textbooks again and again, yes, that could be fine enough for far enough to answer the geographical questions at least 70 to 80% accurately. But you should read thoroughly again and again, then only you can answer. So, and understand how they're putting the questions. They're not asking very much difficulty things, they're asking very fundamental things, the observations, general observations. So you moving from Himachal Pradesh, what's happening, that's it. So let's answer the next question. Let's have a look on the next question. Hmm. With reference to a tropical cyclone, okay, with reference to a tropical cyclone, consider the following statements. First of all, understand what is a tropical cyclone. Tropical cyclone or cyclones. Cyclones are what? Cyclones are, so let's understand the options. Tropicals is fine. Which options it's going to be? Somebody is saying it's option 1, 2, 3. Option D. Okay, someone is saying option D. Let's understand this thing first. Okay. Cyclones are intensified by the energy released during condensation in, what is this? Cumulonimbus clouds. So you need to understand different type of clouds also. So different type of clouds. This is nimbus clouds and cumulonimbus clouds, types of clouds. So read this. This is also the terminology from NCERT. So yeah. So cyclones are intensified the energy released during condensation in cumulonimbus. So the energy that intensifies the storm comes from the, yes, when the condensation process is taking in the clouds, yes, there will be some heat energy is released. So what is that? How you can say that, sir, heat energy is releasing? See, if you understanding your heat concept in your schooling, let's say there will be heat called specific heat. I'm making the concept clear. Latent heat. See, what is a latent heat in the sensing? If water you take, let's say water molecule, and water molecule is turning into what? Some kind of a solid, like a liquid to solid. Some kind of a cloud formation is happening, condensation is happening. So while the condensation is happening, you just see liquid to solid, the temperature here is going to be different, and that with the temperature automatically come associated with some energy. So when it is converting from one form to another form, liquid to solid, or the condensation is happening, the energy is released. The energy is released. So this is what happening. So this energy will be intensified the cyclones. So how's the cyclones getting that huge amount of energy? In the sense, thus latent heat of condensation, heat condensation, the heat released during the condensation process. So what is the condensation? In the sense, condensation process is nothing but changing from state to another state. Changing from state to another state. It may be water vapor to the kind of a solid state, and that state changing from state to another state. So option one is correct. Cyclones are intensified by the energy released during condensation process of the clouds. Yes, it's a correct. Statement one is correct. Is it clear? Statement one is why statement one is just very technically asked that given statement is. If you're not understanding, or else just technically, if your arts background or science humanities background, just but keep this idea in mind, because we done things in the schooling. When one form of material is turned into another form of material, automatically there is a amount of energy released. That energy will be intensifying the cyclones. Fine. So the statement one is correct. And what about the statement two? So if you're looking at the typical a cyclone, what's happening in the cyclone? So if it's looking at that, while there is a huge amount of wind circulating around a point, there is a huge amount of wind circulating around a point. Yes, huge amount of wind is circulating around a point. Let's say if I'm looking from the top view, that's the huge amount of wind is circulating around a point, and that center, of course, there will be kind of that could be, if you even you look at like this, there will be kind of a spherical kind of a structure. That center you call as a eye, right? This is actually cyclone formation. And if you understand this cyclone formation, if you read that topic NCERT, in NCERT, yes, these all details are given in NCERT. So what is that? The eye is a region of calm with a subsiding air. Yes, of course. Here the region, in this region where the eye region, it is a calm, but around it a huge very intense aids in the spiral way which is surrounded by it, which is surrounding that. That's how you can see these things. So this eye is a region calm with a subsiding air, correct? Maximum wind speed is attained in the eye wall region. Of course, this region you call as a eye wall. This region around that region, that's no, that region you call it as a eye wall. And in this region you have a wind speed, no wind, this wind is no rotating in a very huge speeds, and in this region it was calm, and so this you call as a eye wall, and in this region you have a maximum speed. So all three statements are correct, so it's a option D. All three statements are correct and it's a option D. Is this clear? Hope this is clear, and I'm moving to the next question. Okay, let's move to the next question. So far, any doubts you have, let me know. I will take them. Let's finish this question, and we will these two questions, and then I will give time for you to have a look on the questions. Isostasy, right? Next question is, yeah, in the context of geographical phenomenon, the context of geographical phenomena, the concept of isostasy involves the measurement of. The concept of isostasy involves the measurement of what? Gravity anomalies, pressure difference, intensity of earthquake, oceanic depth. See, isostasy involves the measuring of like it's a on Earth how the gravity and measuring how the gravity in various parts of Earth. So the gravity in various parts of Earth. How the gravity in various parts of the Earth. And that you can name the variations you named as a gravity anomalies, and isostasy is involved in the measurement of gravity anomalies. Why it's gravity anomalies? In the sense, see, if you look at it, Earth is not a perfect sphere. Earth is not a perfect sphere. If it's a perfect sphere, let's understand the concept. If it's a perfect sphere, let's say we have a formula of what? Gravitational force F equal to G m1 m2 by r square. This is the formation we have. But here the radius of that is not going to be same. See, radius of Earth is not exactly 3,600 kilometers. It will be different. Some regions will be having what? Some kind of different altitudes, and no, this all. So it is not exactly perfect sphere. So there will be some changes in the gravitational fields or gravitational forces on various parts of the Earth. That variations you're measuring, and that you call as a gravity anomalies. Isostasy involves in the measurement of that. Fine. So it's option A. It's option A. So please keep in. Once they're talking about the isostasy, it's related to gravity measurements, gravitation on Earth of various parts. Next question. Just look at the next question. The feature is an extension of the Deccan Plateau and is separated from the Chotanagar Plateau by fault. Okay, and you need to understand what is meant by fault. Okay, Garo Khasi Jhantia Hills Farm, it's a prominent part. I think you see, you can easily say where you can have a Garo Hills, Khasi Hills, Jhantia Hills. Which part? Rota Plateau, Meghalaya Plateau. Anyone have an idea? So it's simple. It's a straight question. It's a Meghalaya Plateau. If you look at it, even northeast, no, if you look at this because this portion will be Deccan Plateau, and this part of that could be given more, I mean, formed from what? Separated from the Chotanagar Plateau by fault, and it is an extension of this Deccan Plateau. And you can see here Garo Hills, Khasi Hills, Garo Hills, Khasi Hills, and Jhantia Hills here. So that you can say simply as a Meghalayan Plateau. And remaining plateaus you just read it. I'm not going for this. So far, if you have any doubts, no, it's not. See, it's a Meghalaya Plateau. Please have a look on it. Garo Hills and Khasi Hills and all are comes in this region, Meghalaya. So if you want, take a screenshot of it, and If you have a doubt, you let me know. Just have a look on these questions and let me know. Then take a couple of, we will take a no. After 2 minutes, we will continue the discussion. Any doubts so far? Okay, I think I kept you in a mute. Let me unmute everyone. Yeah, you can unmute, and if you have a doubt, you let me know. Okay, sure. Let's continue then. So let's continue the discussion. Yeah. Few more questions we pick. Which of the following phenomena may cause rising of air? Which of the following phenomena may cause rising of air? So just look at it. So why air will rise? You just need to understand, first of all, that concept you need to understand why air will rise. So if you're looking at, if you see, there could be a pressure belts. See, as you look at it, high pressure, low pressure. There is a pressure variations on earth. There will be a pressure variation. So always air flow from what? Air flows from what region to what region? High pressure to low pressure. Please keep this in mind. Fluids will flow from pressure, high pressure to low pressure. Fluids, that air is also a fluid, so it will flow from high pressure to low pressure, right? High pressure to low. Yes. So now he is asking what? So rising of air matlab, on surface of earth there may be high pressure, and above that, when you look at that, let's say this is the surface, here is a high pressure, and while you're going there could be a low pressure, so air will rise from here to here. That is what he's saying. So why this will happen, in the sense, what are the reasons? Is the convection currents, convergence of winds on land, eddies, eddy currents, like these eddies will be no, like flow of winds from one region to another region. So these are the now understand what is the convection currents and convergence and eddies, right? Convergence is what? Convergence matlab, see, convection currents or what? Convection currents, what will happen sometimes, rising the air to form what? See, if you look at the clouds formation, if you're understanding the no, topic of no, clouds formation, the cloud formation, how the cloud formation is happening, the air will be rising from high pressure to low pressure, and no, because of that heat, when the temperature is changing automatically, temperature, see, these all are like very related parameters: temperature, pressure. So if you look at that, no, fundamental concepts of no, how the pressure and temperature will, no, pressure will be what? If even you can go with the no, proportional to temperature, that no, as you increasing the temperature, pressure will, as the pressure is increasing in that region, so PV equal to nRT. If you remember this is a kind of a law you learned in a gaseous law you learned in a schooling. QV equal to nRT. Let's say in some region, if I'm keeping this, pressure and temperature could be what? As it is increasing, automatically this has to increase. So these kind of laws will applicable here. And if you look at it, conventional currents, while the clouds are forming in the clouds formation, Yes, yes. Mhm. Conventions and no eddies will be what? So convention and eddies, while the no what will happen, clouds formation, the air will be rising from ground, like surface to here up, and that no, that convention will be leads to what? Rising of the air actually. And whereas the convergence will be what? On the surface of that. Convergence will be on the surface of it. High pressure region to low pressure region, the air will flow, let's say. And here that no high pressure region, again low pressure region, the air will be converged here, converged in the sense combining here on the land, and they will rise. That will be no creating the high pressure region, and that from high pressure region again, altitude wise, height wise, it will rise. So these are the three phenomena. Just read this carefully. Even eddies also, even on the eddies also, eddy is also a kind of a circular circulation. It's a kind of a circulation also, air circulation also, air circulation. So all this will be creating the rising of air. Please keep these things in mind. See, you if you read these things, then if I'm discussing this, that could be very useful, helpful to you. If you're not reading all these things, and simply if you're directly listening, then automatic definitely all these parameters could be new to you. So I'm expecting you already started your preparation, you've done some reading, and you're attending this class. Then only it will be useful for you. Fine. And these are some so again some questions on the soil. Please understand no what kind of questions they're asking. Which of the following events are associated with the, yeah, this is a directly a straight kind of question. Paleozoic era in a geological time scale. Which are the things? These two are not correct, and only it's option G, just one only. That's it's a basic question. You just read the table. You have a table in the NCERT textbook, like a different eras and what's happening, the geological time cycle, the time scale, what's happening, that you need to read it carefully. So please read that table. Fine. And next 16th question, next question. The soil in the high precipitation areas of wet equatorial climate region, or yeah, you see, wet equatorial climatic regions. Wet equatorial climatic regions, what you can say? Hmm. See, keep in mind the soil in the high precipitation, wet equatorial, high precipitation. So you have a very huge rain, right? Rainy. It's a high precipitation in the sense rainy. So rainy. In that rainy things, what will happen automatically? Hmm. Yes. In that region, what will happen? See, low silica content. How can you justify that? I mean, it's a high in humus content. No, that's not possible. Select the correct answer using the code given below. Which are the in that region? What will happen? Low in silica content. You can say yes. How come? How come you say that is going to be yes? Low in silica content. What will happen? See, as it's a high precipitation, please understand this. I mean, as it's a high precipitation, as it's a wet equatorial climatic region, high precipitation, there is a huge rainy. So the water, the rainy water will transport or soil components of silica. It's not only silica, it's not only Si, even it will cancel no sodium, magnesium, and other salts. So in that rainy regions, what will happen? it will remove the elements. The rainy water will remove the elements. That is the reason you can say it has a low silica content and rich in sodium and magnesium. Wrong. Rich in sodium and magnesium. And also in that region, what will happen, as it is a humid tropical equatorial climate, as it's a equatorial climate, you please understand every time, because of the high precipitation, the minerals or the salts will be removed because of the rainy water. Because of the equatorial climatic region, there will be huge growth of this bacteria, and that bacteria will be intense no actions on the dead vegetation. So there will be humus content also is going to be low. Humus content also is going to be low because of that bacterial dead vegetation. Because of the action of the bacteria on the dead vegetation, it will oxidize. So equatorial climate having a more bacterial actions on the dead vegetation or vegetation, so then that vegetation will be oxidized, so there will be no humus content, so low humus content. So this is also wrong, this is also wrong, and this could be correct, low in silica content. So what you can understand, high precipitation with the equatorial climate, wet equatorial climatic region, it has a low humus content, low silica and other minerals also. So which option is correct? It's option 2 only correct. So it's option A. I hope this and you understand this. Not high humus, please understand this. As it's a equatorial climate, it's a bacterial actions on vegetation could be more, and that could be oxidize the vegetation. So you don't find the humus content. You don't find the humus content. Is it clear? So those things you should be very careful. We already done a question on the PT soils. If you look at it, there is a question hold where we have a humus is yes. The soils are low humus in and organic content. See, PT soils you find here it is a marshy, watery regions. It is not a equatorial wet equatorial region. It's a marshy. So here you can find a more humus, more organic content. Whereas here the difference you need to understand. Whereas here what's happening in this question, it is a wet equatorial region, it's equatorial climate. So the bacterial that actions on the bacterial the bacterial actions on that dead vegetation could be more, that to oxidize the contents. So once that's the vegetation is oxidizing, you don't find the humus or you don't find the organic content. So that's the reason you have a less humus content here. You got the difference why even though there is a high precipitation, but that is PT lands, marshy lands, water is logging over there, but here it is different. It's a wet equatorial region. Here it's water is not logging, it's water is running away. I hope this is cleared. I mean, see that the way people put the UPSC putting the questions, they are very fundamentally, you need to understand, you need to see the differences. Okay, I will continue the next question. Let's start with the next question. With reference to the landform cape, landform cape, with reference to the landform cape, consider the following statements. It is a headland of the large site extending into a body of water. And actually these options are 1, 2, 3. Maybe I mistakenly typed it here. It's 1, 2, 3. Okay. So a large extending body of water extending into a large headland of a large size extending into water body. And then he's saying it is prone to tidal erosion. It is prone to tidal erosion. Okay. Next, what is the option? Cape Cameroon lies at junction of Bay of Bengal and Strait of Malacca. So these things you need to see. Bay of Bengal and Strait of Malacca. So Cape Cameroon lies at junction of Bay of Bengal and Strait of Malacca. First, you need to understand, see, where is the Strait of Malacca and where is actually the Bay of Bengal, and all that geographical maps are very important when you look at it. So please, when you started your geography preparation, my sincere suggestion to you all is you take every day. Don't no think that only you when you're reading geography only you take every day a map and look at some. One day you look at all strides, one day you look at all rivers, or one day you look at all junction plateaus, one day you look at all uh, uh, different lakes in no these things. If you're doing, it will be very helpful to you. Is it clear? These things will be very helpful to you. So every day practicing this, geographical maps will be give you a very good confidence while you are writing exam, right? So see, so what are the options? Which option C? Yes, of course, if you look at Cape, the landform Cape is nothing but headland of large size extending into a water body. Even if you look at Cape of Townam, no, there are a lot of examples. Even if you look at it, yeah, here you have a African region, and so the Cape is nothing but, yes, a headland of large size extending into water body, and you see there will be huge erosion, of course. So 1 and 2 are correct. 1 and 2 are correct. Next, come to the third one, Cape Cameroon. Cape Cameroon is what? It's related to India. Cape Cameroon is what? It's related to India. Yes, Kanyakumari. Cape Cameroon is what? It's related to India. It's nothing but Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal. Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. So Cape Cameroon is in between these two. It is a junction in between Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal. Cape Cameroon is. It's not in the Strait of Malacca. So this is not correct. So option 3 is not correct. Option 2, this is. So 1 and 2. Simple, straightforward. It's actually straightforward question. You can see. So far any doubts you have, let me know. So it's been 11 actually. It's 1 hour session. Okay. Let me just do. Okay. So the remaining questions, whatever we have, I mean, I thought of taking some more questions, but it's been 11. Yeah, we'll take another session to discuss these questions. We will continue with. I will share you this document, and please practice these questions, previous questions, and I will give you answers for it. And in the next session, we will meet. So far, if you have any doubts, you let me know. And just see, please practice the questions. Then only you can able to answer. You can able to answer these things. So any questions or any doubts you have, let me know, or else we'll stop here for today. And the next session we will continue with this, discussing the remaining questions. I think 10 more questions we have, but it's been 1 hour. So we'll continue our discussions in the next session. So I hope, thank you everyone. So I'm stopping the session. Yeah.